Dick by Tony Gilbert, Part 3. I open my eyes and have to close them again as my pupils dilate in the furious light from above. He's awake, someone calls, a woman's voice. Middle-aged. Local. I open my eyes again into a squint and look around. I'm lying in the middle of a stage and I can feel the plastic bristles of the carpet scratching at my pants. I glance to my left at the prop bag that had fallen from the rafters and landed on my head. It had pennies stenciled on it in thick black lettering. My head hurts like hell, so I reach up with my left hand and rub. There's a bump the size of a baseball, and it feels wet. I draw back my hand as I wince. Then I remember. Miss Love, I say. Where is she? Lois? Yeah, Lois, I say as I try and sit up. Just stay there, Dick. We already called the cops. I sit up quickly, ignoring the bolt of pain that shoots through my brain, and grab the rotocystic giant by the collar. Where the fuck is Lois, I say. We don't know, Mr. Dick. Great, the stutter too. Someone wagged her out. Who, I say as I realize I'm still holding the shirt of the shaking man. I release him. We don't know. They were gone before we reached them. I have to get out of here before the cops arrive. They know me well, and there's no doubt in my mind that they'd play with me in an interview room for a few hours. But by then, Lois's trail may have cooled, and I'd be stuck. I try to stand. My legs won't obey at first, but then I'm up and walking toward the exit. I really don't know where to start. I know nothing of Miss Love's life. No friends, no relatives. I go to the only person I know has had any contact with her. First stop, Richie Hartman. Richie lives in the rough end of town, a scrape off the shoes of any well-meaning New Yorker. I find that I spend a lot of my time in his neck of the woods, but familiarity doesn't breed admiration. I think there's a saying somewhere along those lines. Richie's a gangster, and that makes him difficult to get close to. Even if I do manage an audience with him, I often find that he's not quite himself. He plays a role in company, much like Isaac, but without the flowers. It doesn't help that his men all know about my shady past as a cop. Cops, even ex-cops and gang members, don't seem to mix too well. Still, I have to try. Richie may be the only person with any leads. I arrive outside of the laundrette that I know is the face of Richie's empire. I've always thought a laundrette is a stupid place for any criminal organization to reside. After all, what gangster flick doesn't have a laundrette somewhere in its play? I walk into the sound of a bell which is hanging above the door. There's a short Asian woman behind the counter, almost blending with the smartly pressed suits and freshly washed shirts hanging behind her. I need to speak to Richie, I say. I no speak English, she says. You said that in English, I say, with the sweetest smile I can manage. I no speak English, she says. I've played this game before. Listen, I say, speaking as slowly as I can. If you don't get Richie out here, there will be more than lipstick stains to remove from those suits. I keep the smile on my lips. I find that a threat with a smile makes it all the more believable. I no speak English, she says. This is going to be harder than anticipated. I reach into the inside pocket of my jacket slowly, keeping my eyes fixed on the little woman in front of me. It's a risky move, but I'm hoping she'll back down rather than reaching behind the counter and picking up a loaded shotgun. Three men roughly the same size as bulldozers careen through the wall of shirts, sending empty coat hangers crashing down on the hard tile floor. The lead guy, an ugly brute who appears to have been on the wrong side of a hammer on more than a few occasions, points a gun directly between my eyes. I slowly remove my hand and drop it to my waist. Who the hell do you think you are? His voice sounds like boots on gravel. I look back over my shoulder before returning my gaze to him. Me? I ask as my finger touches the center of my chest and my left eyebrow tilts. There ain't no one else here. The second guy speaks up with more sand than gravel. He's no prettier than his companion, but at least he has good hair. Is Richie about? I ask. Answer the question. The third one speaks and completes the circle. The three stooges, the three musketeers, the three little pigs. Dick Harris, I say. I'm a friend of Richie's. They all look as if waiting for the other to speak, and then Gravel-Throat steps forward with malice in his eyes. I hear the phone ring from somewhere in the room as he throws his first punch. I dodge to my left, shrugging my shoulder down as his massive fist grazes my right ear. I hook my arm around his and twist, pulling him off balance before smashing my left knee into his rotund stomach. He pulls a shallow breath and his legs crumple beneath him. I stand straight again before the other two trolls step forward. Stand down, boys. We all stare towards Speak No English. She puts the phone down on its cradle and says, He friend with Richie. Told you so, I smile. Wrought a bloody mess, she says, as she looks at the crumpled clothes on the floor. I walk behind the corridor and, stepping over the heap of jackets, follow Speak No English into a dimly lit corridor. Right here, she says, before walking to the door at the end, knocking and walking through. I waited for nearly 15 minutes. Dick, Richie says from behind a wide mahogany desk, don't ever come in here like that again. I look at him, eyes wide with disbelief. This is a place of business, my business, and I don't appreciate people coming in and making a damn mess. I can't believe he's talking to me like this, but then I notice the dark silhouette of a man in each corner of the room behind him. He's making sure they know he's boss in his own house. She's been kidnapped, Richie. Who has? Lois, I say. She's a big girl, he says. She can look after herself. I need to know where I can find her, Richie. How am I supposed to know, Dick? Look, give me half an hour and I can get you another broad. What do you want? Blonde, brunette, fat, thin? Richie, please, I say. You owe me one. Richie stands up at that, and I think there is real anger in his eyes. I owe you nothing. You're still paying me back for shooting me. I thought I just had, I say. Nowhere near, Dick. Songs was a favor, but Lois done most of the work. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Not only is he refusing to take Miss Love's kidnap seriously, but he's berating me for my assistance in the Father Edgar Songs case. There's something he's not telling me. Do you know anything about Lois? I ask. What are you saying, Dick? I'm saying nothing, Richie. I nearly spit out his name. Do you know where she is? Where she lives? Any of her friends? Anything about her? Is she really worth the trouble, Dick? More than worth it. I've got to go. I turn and walk out. The argument had been going nowhere and had been getting there fast. I think if I hadn't walked away when I had in the gunfight that would have followed, someone would have ended up dead. Not holding a weapon myself, I'm guessing it would have been me. I could think of only one place to go, so I head back toward the theater in the hopes that the cops had taken their statements and headed to the closest donut shop. I hopped from the cab I had waved down just under the 32 minutes before. As I do, I see the last of the cruisers pull away from the curb. Waiting until it is just out of sight, I walk to the door I had exited earlier that evening and knock, as there is no external handle. It opens almost instantly. Dick! Isaac stands in front of me, almost filling the doorway. Have you found her? I ignore the question. Who has access to the stage props? I ask. Everyone. His whining voice is beginning to annoy me. Get everyone together. I need to speak with them. Most people have left already, he says, and there's no small amount of fear in his eyes. Well, I'm close to shouting, "Get everyone who's still here!" To give him his due, I came to be in front of a group of 15 people within 10 minutes. I look at them all, hoping that my super PI sense would tell me something. It doesn't. I clear my throat, and am about to speak when a kid, no more than 18, walks in yawning. "Who are you?" I say. The boy tries to speak, but I've caught him mid-yawn. "This is Kelwin," says Isaac. "He's a pwop boy." The boy suddenly looks scared. "The rest of you can go," I say. "Thanks for your time." The group begins to peel off. Isaac doesn't move. "You too, Isaac." He looks a little upset, but moves off without another word. "What's happened?" the boy asks before stifling another yawn. He's as white as vanilla ice cream. "I want to speak with you about the abduction." "Abduction?" he asks, and uncertainly moves his face like a cloud. And uncertainty moves across his face like a cloud. "Yeah, the abduction." "What, here?" Getting information from Speak No English had been easier than this. "Of course, here," I say. "Have you been asleep?" "Yes." He shocks me with his response. "It wasn't my fault, though," he says. "This woman." "What woman?" I fight the urge to grab his shirt and shake the answers from him. "I don't know. Just a woman." "What did she look like?" "Blonde," he says. "Great breasts. We was getting on really well, and she asked to see the props and stuff, so I brought her back here. I thought I was going to get lucky, you know." "Was this before or after tonight's show?" "Before." "Carry on." "Not much more to say. She was really flirty, you know. Kept pushing her boobs out at me like this." He pushes his chest towards me as if I wouldn't understand. "Then when I asked her what her name was, she stuck me with this." He holds out his hand. In it is a syringe, quarter filled with a clear liquid. I take it from him and hold it above my head, examining it against the light. I can see that in fact it is not quite clear. It clouds under the fluorescent with a blue tinge. There's only one person who can tell me what this is. I need to visit the doctor. Just over an hour after I arrive at the office belonging to the doctor, he steps back to me, syringe in one hand and notepad in the other. He's not really a doctor, of course, not in the traditional sense of the word. He has no medical degree or any legal experience with patients. Yet, ever since the case of the missing sapphire, 3 years back, he is the person who I always go to with problems of this nature. "What have you found, Doc?" I ask as he places the syringe on a table covered with papers. He's a white-haired man of about 60 and wears tiny spectacles on the end of a long, straight nose. "Nothing that could be of any help, I doubt," he says in a broad German accent. "Why don't you let me decide that?" I say in a far blunter tone than I meant. "Of course, Dick, but first..." I hand him a thick brown envelope, which he pushes unopened into a pocket in the back of his brown corduroy trousers. "This is a rather common barbiturate called phenobarbital. It is a sedative and can, in some places, be bought over the counter. It comes as a salty powder, but it's soluble, fast-acting, very effective for short periods." "You say it can be bought over the counter?" "When I say over the counter, I don't mean in a pharmacy. Prescription, yes, but anything else, you have to know where to find it." "And where could I find it?" The doctor turns to his desk and picks up a pen. He writes on his pad, tears the page off, and hands it over. I look at it and turn towards the door. "You won't find anything out tonight, Dick. There'll be no one there, and they have 2 rather nasty chihuahuas guarding the storeroom." I sigh. "Go get some rest, Dick. I'm sure whatever you're working on can wait tonight." "I hope so, Doc. I really do." I walk from the offices and hear the locks turning behind me. I look at the address on the paper the doctor had handed me. There is something that I'm forgetting or just not realizing. I decide to take a walk. think about things in the cool air. I see a light on in a distant building and can hear the faint sounds of music coming from within. I head towards it. The closer I get, the more the address eats at my subconscious. Where have I heard it before? The sound of the music grows closer. I find myself on the same street I had left so unhappily on Saturday evening, and then I work out why I know the address. I walk further down the street and approach Walter's Tavern. I glance at the address above the door and then to the building next door. There are 4 evil eyes and 2 sets of sharp teeth bared through the window. I take a moment, a second, to breathe the night air in, then pull my eyes away from the nasty-looking chihuahuas and push open the door to the bar. It's far busier than it had been on my last visit. Clyde still stands behind the bar, and I'm not even sure he's changed his clothes. I nod at him, and he smiles back. "Jack Daniels straight," I say before adding, "no ice." He turns his back on me and dips a glass tumbler into an ice bucket.